But I always worked on it. I always worked on it. I never talked about it because publicly because Vinatieri, I never wanted Vinatieri to think like, hey, I want to kick. Like this is not, I wouldn't even kick on the same days Vinatieri was kicking because I did it one time and we almost ended up fist fighting each other. Like it was because it was just one of those moments, you know? So I always had the utmost respect for Vinatieri, but everybody kind of knew in the kicking world, like, okay, pretty fucking good kicker too. I'd go to these camps with Jamie Cole and there'd be some other NFL kickers there and I would just be dusting, like just absolutely slaughtering. We would have guys come into training camp who would go on to other teams and not make it, but they would bounce around as kickers, and I would just dust them in practice whenever they were coming in, right? They're just a camp leg. It was something for me, like a little bit of like, okay, if I did, I could. Like it was always like, if I did, I could. So then when Jamie gets that gig with Chicago coming off the Cody Parkey thing, there's a conversation that's had between he and I, and he's like, hey, listen, I know you enjoy what you're doing. And I said, he was actually in town and we were just meeting, having a conversation. He told me what he was about to do. And I was like, really? And he saw that I was like pretty intrigued by this whole thing. And he said, listen, I know what you got, you do what you got to do. I am, if you were to do this, obviously like, hey, you're going to have to take this real, like you're going to have to be serious. But I think it would be cool if you got to show everybody that you're also could have been Pro Bowl NFL kicker as well or whatever. I'm like, I think that'd be fucking cool too. So at that point though, I had stopped kicking balls for a long time because I didn't even want to get the urge to go back out there. Like when I retired, I felt like if I would go back to the NFL, everybody would mock me for my decision. So I'm so stubborn. I was like, I'm not even gonna fucking pick up a ball. Okay, I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna do my thing. When that situation popped up though, I was like, oh, maybe I could go kick. It's for the Bears. They're gonna be good, allegedly. They're gonna be good. They had a hell of a run. You know what I mean? It's right here. By the way, it's not that far of a trip. I mean, it was like perfect. I said, let me go see if I can kick some balls. And then I'll like, let me go see if I can even do this anymore. So my wife and I would go up to this field. We'd start doing it. My legs were so sore. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I think I could do this, you know? So we have a conversation again, and he goes like, you know, if this works out and you're hitting the ball well, there's a lot of things that are gonna have to happen, obviously. The Colts will have to trade for you. The Colts are gonna have to trade you. You're gonna have to compete for the job, by the way. You're not just gonna get the job, like it's gonna be a big thing. And for me, I was like, man, I feel like I've proved myself, but I'm not gonna do it. They told me that I would have been one of, like, they had 9 kickers there one day. Like all kicking from the same spot. And then they were like carrying 6, 7 kickers or whatever through training camp. And I was like, okay, so like that's the last thing you should be doing. That is, well, for the kicker, like even if it's not me, by the way, even and it's not like, okay, I don't want to go compete against these people because if I'm going to be in the NFL, okay, I'm going to have to beat these guys anyways. If I want to go to what I want to do and kick, like my goal was for me and Vinatieri to be in the Pro Bowl kicking against each other, AFC, NFC. Like that was, I was coming back like, yo, I'm gonna have a perfect fucking season. Like that, I wasn't coming back just to do it. Like I was, so I wouldn't have been worried about that whole thing. But after I kicked and then my knee just blew up, it felt like it was a sign. Like, all right, don't go do it. Let's go ahead and put this. After I saw what they were doing and how they were doing, I wanted to send a message and be like, hey, this is the exact opposite thing of what you should be doing. Like the entire thing is mental, especially in Chicago. It's big. That kick coming off of the double doink, which is the biggest storyline in the world. The kicking position for the Chicago Bears is like an actual headline. If you have 9 guys, you're kind of making a circus out of this thing, as opposed to being like, hey, this is our guy. And I'm not saying that I thought that should have been me. After I said, like, I'm not going to do this, I almost wanted to tell him, like, hey, you should just find like 2 guys and just be like, hey, you're going to be, one of you 2 is going to be our guy. Let's go do it. They ended up cycling through, I think, like 3, 4 guys, 5 guys or whatever. They finally landed on Cairo.
Eddie Pinheiro.
Oh, Eddie Pinheiro. Yeah, Cairo. He was there.
Cairo, you're right.
Yeah, Cairo was there. Eddie Pinheiro was there first.
He got injured.
Then there was somebody else. Now Cairo's there, I think, and he's been the thing. But I think that aspect of like building somebody up, like empowering people is very powerful.